We're with Phil Goss. He is the first Democrat to announce an intention to run for the 3rd District congressional seat being vacated by Jim Banks. Welcome here.
Thank you.
So let's get to know you. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Evansville originally, but my family's been in Fort Wayne since 1927. I finished Wabash College and went off to Poland immediately after to go to what was then a newly developing part of the world and learn about the culture, learn about the language, and delve into what at that time was post-socialist transformation.
So it had to be a very interesting time to be in a country that was emerging from communism.
It was incredibly interesting, incredibly educational.
And then somehow find your way back to Fort Wayne.
Yes, I inherited the family farm in 2019 and have been managing that ever since.
So then what makes you want to get into politics?
My life experience has prepared me and led me to this point, whether it's a question of education, a question of experience, a question of philosophical approaches to matters. I think that our country can and should do better than what it has done.
So go into more specifics there. Where do you see the issues that maybe are shortcomings? Where can America get better?
I think that at the national scale, we have lost decorum, we have lost candor with the people. We are no longer responsive to people's needs, but we pay lip service to that. I think it is time that we started taking care of America first and that we don't pay lip service to freedom, but actually pursue policies and pursue actions that encourage individual freedom, individual responsibility, and empower the people to be whomever they would like to be.
I'm struck individual responsibility, individual liberty feels very conservative, I mean, at the outset.
I think the traditional divide that we've come to expect is one of false approaches, and I think there's a better way. I think following a way which is following our Constitution, following the philosophy behind that, and following these principles without exception is the way we should be operating this country.
Do you expect to see a challenger among the Democrats? Because we're still a year away from the 2024 election. Do you think, are you going to be it, or what's your plan here?
I don't know. And that's the best I could say. It's a long time until we have the final deadline to declare for the office, which I believe the deadline is in February for the May primaries. So a lot could happen in the course of the next 7-8 months.
Why, with the history in this seat, being overwhelmingly Republican, not run as a Republican? Where do you differ from Republicans?
I think the Republican Party has an identity crisis at the moment, and I have often identified more with the Democrats over my entire life. However, I would be certain to underline that I am not of the radical persuasion, as is sometimes declared by our Republican friends, nor am I a supporter of any type of radical approach. I think there is no room for extremism, and extremism of any flavor does not help us come to optimal decisions to create a greater good.
So I'm thinking maybe an Evan Bayh sort of Democrat. Is that fair?
That's fair.
And so that looks different, maybe, I guess, in today's political landscape, because it feels like both edges, both extremes are loudest if they're not winning.
That is true. And it's time that we, the majority who eschew all extremism, come together and work towards what is the greater good.
Jim Banks, in his last campaign, seemed to up his vote level, even with this divisiveness that a lot of people felt. He won't be on the ballot for this particular race next time. Do you think that gives you an edge, or do you think it would be easier to run against him and his record?
I only decided to run because Jim Banks decided to vacate this seat and run for Senate. Had he not vacated this seat, I would not be sitting here talking to you today.
Now explain that, unpack that.
An open seat a vacant seat is a cleaner contest. Whenever we have to run against an incumbent, it creates a greater barrier to entry.
So incumbency is obviously powerful. Marlin Stutzman, if he were to win the nomination, would have this odd sort of, he's had the job before, a lot of name recognition. How will you build up your name recognition to, say, a Marlin Stutzman level?
We're working on that strategy now. I think it's important to be visible, to be seen, to be heard, to have a good media presence, social media, broadcast media, print media, such as it is now. And starting with that, we'll see how the appearances go. I'm certainly comfortable speaking in public. I'm happy to come and speak to any group that would like to have me.
How much money do you think you're going to need to raise? Let's assume that there's no primary. In a general election, how much do you think it will take to effectively communicate that?
I don't know the answers to that question, but I'm certainly aware that we will have to raise $500,000, perhaps $1 million, perhaps more. I don't know the answer to that question.
And what's the best way if somebody wants to learn more about you to get connected?
Our website is philgossforcongress.com.
And what will you be doing, I guess, between now and really when we've still got a November election here for mayor and all the municipal elections to get through. What will you be doing from now until maybe the May primary in 24?
Well, until November, I'm staying in the background because I don't want to influence or take any wind out of the sails of the upcoming elections. After November, leading into the May primary, we'll see where we stand. Right now, there is no other challenger, and so right now it does not look like I will have a primary challenge. However, as I said earlier, it's a long time and anything could happen.
What else do we need to know? Anything else?
I think I represent a positive way forward. I represent the approach to finding optimal solutions and a willingness and ability and an eagerness to work together with people from all sides of whatever issue we're talking about to move our country forward. We can't talk about failure, refusal to compromise our values, while at the same time lauding those who have come together to create compromise bills that can move forward.
I think I followed that. One more time. We can't compromise our values.
We cannot we cannot refuse to compromise our values or claim to not want to compromise our values while also then lauding those who do compromise. Compromise is the art of politics. It doesn't matter what I want. What matters is what we can do together.
So as we speak, this will be my last question. News of the day is, of course, the debt ceiling vote, is whether to raise that. I just actually spoke with Jim Banks, who says he has voted against all of those votes. Do you see that as a healthy compromise? Is that a positive sign, or is that just what happens in divided government?
The Biden-McCarthy bill is the result of compromise. I think those who are against it at this point do not want to recognize that it is the result of compromise, that it is a joint decision, and I think they're holding the American people and the American government hostage for what is ultimately a political game.
Phil Goss is running as a Democrat for the 3rd District seat being vacated by Jim Banks. Thanks for stopping by, Wayne 15.
Great, thank you.